Hey guys, welcome to the Source Gaming Discussion. I am your host, Epic Martin 7, and today I am joined by our article team contributor, LIQUID12A,
Here, hi.
our artist team contributor, Voyager,
Hello.
and our special guest, Dan from Nintendo Life.
Yep, that's me.
And today we're going to talk about our top 3 picks for the next Super Smash Bros. Game. This is going to be more opinion-based. It's not going to be on who's most likely. So everything in this video is going to be opinionated. So please, no flaming. We don't need fire in the comments. We're just spouting our own opinions. So we're not trying to go against anyone else's character choices. So Dan, what is your number 3 pick?
Oh, so number 3. So most of my list, I think we talked about this before we started the podcast, or whatever this is. It's a 45-minute discussion, right? I was like, okay, I'm going to choose some of the more obvious ones. So to start off with that list is Shovel Knight, who was the indie game character in the game Shovel Knight, which first came to Wii U. So I believe that there's already that preconceived road there. So that would be the first one.
Yeah, Shovel Knight's definitely an interesting choice because he does have a more association with Nintendo, considering his 8-bit style fits in with a lot of the NES titles that existed back in the day. And he does have a variety of abilities that could lend itself well to a moveset. So when it comes to him being in Smash Bros., there is a lot of potential for him to be a unique fighter. It just comes down to how likely he is, and if whether Sakurai would want to work with a Western developer, and that, of course, he could very well work with a Western developer. So, Voyager, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I think Shovel Knight is a great option, truly. He has a neutral game based on his shovel, and his relics could be his special moves. So he has already covered a big chunk of the things that he needs to be in Smash, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think his relics would probably lend itself well to maybe his special moves. I think that'd be a very interesting concept, and I think if Sakurai and the team were to put him in Smash, it'd be one thing to really explore in his character design. Liquid, what do you think?
I think Shovel Knight's a pretty interesting choice for Smash, mostly because he's an indie, and it'd be pretty funny to see everyone react to the, oh my god, an indie got into Smash, no, not deserving. But I like Shovel Knight. I like him a lot. His game's pretty fun. I've gotten into it recently. I still haven't played the other expansions, but I'm all for Shovel Knight in Smash. I kind of hope as a dark horse choice maybe that he gets in, perhaps.
Yeah, and not to mention, recently Yacht Club Games added the gender swap option to his catalog, so they could potentially work with a lot of the alternate costume designs as well.
He also has a lot of recolors, and he might even bring a Plague Knight as his trophy. That could be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. He has a lot of a lot of the Shovel Knight bosses could lend themselves well to assist trophies, or in general the trophy catalog. He has a huge amount of enemies that can be used as 2D trophies. There's a lot of representation that the series could bring into Smash, and it does have a huge potential, again, if Sakurai is willing to work with an indie character. So definitely a really, really solid consideration for Smash Brothers, especially going forward. So, things obviously change. So we don't know how likely he would be 10 years down the line. And of course, we're not talking about the likeliness in this video. It's more of what we want, but he'd definitely be a interesting choice for Smash Brothers. So Liquid, what is your number 3?
I would say Tapu Koko from Pokemon Sun and Moon. I haven't been this interested in a Pokemon since forever, and much less for Smash, because Tapu Koko's probably one of the most interesting new legendaries to come out of Generation 7 that's rather Smash viable, because it has such a large role in the plot of Sun and Moon. It saves you from dying. It comes and fights the Ultra Beast. It fights you again after you become champion. Spoilers. Sorry about that. The game's been out for several months now. And really, it's just got this cool design, and it's an electric fairy, and it's quite popular competitively. It was the first of the Tapus to get on shiny locked. Thank you, Game Freak. And I just think it's quite popular. The potential with it, you have to look for it, but it's there. It's a relatively logistical choice, and it's probably my favorite legendary. One of my favorite legendaries, but it's the only legendary in Sun and Moon that's Smash viable in my opinion. So that's my number 3.
What are your thoughts, Dan?
Oh, so as for him, I'm not sure that because I still haven't played through Pokemon Sun and Moon, unfortunately, so I don't exactly know who this is in particular in context of the video game. But compared to how many Pokemon are in Smash Brothers and are really, really, really well detailed and thought out, I'd say, yeah, no, that should be fine if it has quite a bit of resonance from the community.
Voyager?
Yeah, I think he will be really cool. I mean, I wasn't thinking of him on the Pokemon series, but he has a lot of potential, really, as an idle fighter. I mean, and he could even control the stage with his electric zone that he can create in the games. And as Liquid said, he is really relevant in the plot of the game. So it's a really good choice.
Yeah, I think any Pokemon character really would cement itself as a pretty good choice in Smash Brothers, because usually in the development of a Smash Brothers game, Sakurai and the team has a placeholder for any Pokemon character, and the Pokemon that Liquid mentioned, I think, would be a very good and unique choice. I mean, there's a bunch of different Pokemon out there that would cement itself, but honestly, there's only a certain few that really stand out and have their own unique conventions that would work with Smash, because the Smash theme over the past couple years has been uniqueness and what else could it bring to the table, which, I mean, Smash 64 and Melee, they didn't really pay attention to that, but when Brawl and Smash 4 kind of came, they kind of amped up the uniqueness quite a bit. I mean, you had Cloud with his limit breaks, Bayonetta with her, just combo-esque style, Ryu with his fighting game style, so any unique Pokemon really would cement itself well in the Smash Brothers, and I think what Liquid chose is a really good choice, most definitely. So, Voyager, what is your number 3 pick?
Yeah, I will start with an easy choice, that is Banjo-Kazooie, from Banjo-Kazooie. This duo will be really cool because they could represent the 64 era of gaming, because in Smash we have the retro era. I mean, Mr. Game & Watch, Rob, Duck Hunt, the Nintendo NES era with Mario, Link, Samus, so on. Then the Super Nintendo with Captain Falcon, Fox, and Falco. Then we jump the 64 era. There is no character from the 64 era that is on Smash as a first game. I mean, I think the only one could be the Villager, but he appeared on the GameCube. So we need some representation for the 64 era of gaming, and who's better than the great duo of Banjo-Kazooie?
Your thoughts, Dan?
I mean, I get exactly the reason why he would want this character in the game, in terms of being portrayed through there. But I think it would fit in. I don't know exactly how far.
I mean, Banjo-Kazooie is a very interesting choice because we don't really, like Voyager said, we don't really have that 64-bit era representation in Smash Bros. I mean, of course, we got Mario, who had Super Mario 64, but he's been in a variety of games, and Mario and Smash is more of a conglomerate of Mario throughout the ages. So I think that having a 64-bit era representative would be a pretty good move. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Liquid, about that?
Well, they were originally Nintendo property, so I can see why people would want Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know how I'm not sure exactly how the negotiations with Microsoft would go down, considering that yes, they do belong to them now, and they haven't really been used recently. But I'm down for it. I mean, I really like those two characters. I admit to not playing Banjo-Kazooie, but I do like the games from what I've seen of them.
Yeah, definitely. I think the toughest hurdle that they would have to overcome is negotiating with Microsoft, because essentially they are the competitor to Nintendo. But Nintendo has had an open Nintendo and Microsoft have had a more open relationship in recent times. I mean, Microsoft officially published Minecraft in Japan on Wii U using Microsoft's Game Studios trademark and license. So I think it kind of goes to show that Microsoft is more willing to lend IPs to Nintendo somewhat. I mean, we have seen Donkey Kong 64 on the Virtual Console, but of course that's Nintendo's own IP, but it was made by Rare, so it was probably more likely that Nintendo had most of the ownership of that game, just some of it was left to Rare. But it would be interesting to see what how Microsoft reacts to lending one of their own IPs to Nintendo, which has been prominent on the Nintendo 64. So, but yeah, as for my number 3 pick, Dan actually took it. It was Shovel Knight, ironically, but I think again Shovel Knight would probably lend itself well to Smash, just like some of the other unique characters we mentioned. So, but so we'll kind of go back around. Dan, what's your number 2 choice?
Alrighty, so after Shovel Knight, I put another obvious one that had been originated ever since Melee was coming out. Ridley being an addition to the Smash Brothers series, considering how there's, I guess 1.5, but closer to 2, considering how after Smash 4 they are separated as 2 different characters. But Samus and Zero Suit Samus, and besides that, there's no other characters which are represented in that. So I think having a third one, such as Ridley, would fit greatly. And I know a lot of people say, oh, Ridley would need to be scaled down like Bowser is in that game. So yeah, I think he would be able to fit in really, really well.
Your thoughts, Voyager?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. No, seriously, he will be great. I mean, we will use some interesting game design with him, because Ridley could be a flying character. A lot of people have issues with him being on the ground, making him slow, making him too big as an enormous target. But if we get him hovering, like Peach, with a hovering ability, he could be a lot faster on the air and sluggish on the ground, but with great air mobility, so he could work perfectly, despite being that big.
Liquid?
I like Ridley. I'm always open to the character if he gets into Smash somehow, but I just don't think it's likely right now, especially with the rumors that next Smash game is a port and whatnot. But even barring that, I mean, I like Ridley. I'm welcome pretty much anyone from Metroid at this point. So
now,
yeah, not much to say on Ridley. It'd be a big shock if he gets in.
Now, I find the history of this character very interesting, because he is probably one of the most wanted characters in Smash Bros. History. I mean, starting with Super Smash Bros. Brawl, it kind of grew from there, and then when the base roster was being speculated on, he was the main talk of the town. It wasn't until DLC where his support kind of started falling off just a little bit, because Sakurai made a comment, outright denying him and pretty much talking about like he thinks like he couldn't work. Like, let me rephrase that. Basically, Sakurai likes making the characters similar to the games as much as possible. And Ridley, he probably thinks wouldn't be the same Ridley if he put him in the Smash, which, of course, that's up to the debate. We're not aiming to start another Ridley debate here. That's for another discussion. That's for another discussion. We actually did a past discussion with 2 of the members from Smashified on that, so we'll include a link in the description for that. But overall, I think Ridley would be a solid choice. He would be a shock because of the outright denials Sakurai has made, and it would lead itself pretty well to the fan base. So that's just my 2 cents. And then Liquid, what's your number 2?
Number 2, I mean, this should be unsurprising to a lot of people. I want the Inklings in Smash. Splatoon has grown quite a lot as an IP over the past 2 years that Splatoon was released, and the Inklings have shown pretty damn fast that they lend themselves to a ton of potential moveset variations in Smash. They have, between their ink forms, between the ink, the squids, the ridiculous amount of weapons they have, and whatever's going to be included in Splatoon 2, like, it'd be silly to not consider Inklings for potential Smash newcomers at this point, honestly.
Dan, what do you think?
So, I mean, yeah, I fully agree with the Inklings having some incorporation with Smash Brothers. The fact that they're in Mario Kart already and with a cross promotion in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe really adheres to how Nintendo really believes in Splatoon pushing things as an IP. In Japan, Splatoon is much, much bigger than it is here. So I would see them adding that as just a misstep if they don't.
Voyager?
Yeah, they seem like the most deserving characters to be added to the roster. I mean, it would be a shock if they aren't the first one to be revealed, like Voyager was on his time.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Inkling right now is the talk of the town, mainly because they are Nintendo's newest IP. It has given a huge, fresh, no pun intended, boost into the catalog of games, and I think people see it as a now Nintendo mainstream IP. I mean, from one of their investors meeting, they said that Splatoon, along with Mario and Donkey Kong and other franchises, it's Nintendo's one of Nintendo's mainstay IPs now, and basically it kind of gives them the advantage of being the most likely character to be revealed for the next Smash game, or if Smash 4 is coming to the Switch in form of a port, if that gets extra characters. So I think we can all agree that Inkling, no doubt, probably has a huge chance in Smash Brothers. Yeah, they are definitely up there, and it would be a shock to not see them. Of course, Sakurai could always pull 180 and just be like, we're not including them in this game because, you know, ... And honestly, it'd be funny to see the reaction from that. I could see the salt pouring out of people's ears, but I don't know. We're not here to make people salty. We're here to kind of generate some excitement.
Yeah, we are here to give hope.
So, definitely. So, Voyager, what is your second pick?
And speaking of hope, I like to bring Agnes from Bravely Default. She's one of the protagonists of the first game, and she has an important role on the second one. She could bring the magic archetype to the Smash games. I mean, Cloud is more like a warrior archetype of the Fire Emblem series, Final Fantasy series, sorry. Then Agnes, being from the kind of spin-off that is Bravely Default of the Final Fantasy series, she could be more like a mage, half black mage, half white mage, half summoner, etc.
Yeah, I think Agnes from Bravely Default would be an interesting character. Having a mage-like character in Smash Bros. is something I think people have been clamoring for a while. And considering Square Enix has ties to Smash Brothers now with Cloud, it could be pretty easy to get the rights to that character. So, and character diversity is, I've hit this on the head several times. I mean, Sakurai is looking for character diversity, and that'd be something that could bring something new to the table. So, definitely would be an interesting concept for a character. Dan, what do you think?
So, in my personal belief, I totally agree. Bravely Default is one of the best things Square Enix has ever done for Nintendo, besides the exclusivity of the first couple Final Fantasy games. So with the inclusion of Cloud in that game, if Nintendo wants to put them in, they can easily get that character. And yeah, I think, especially considering how successful that game did here and overseas, it would be likely that there would be another Square Enix character from the Bravely Default series, if not that one.
Liquid?
Perhaps it will come as a shock to some of you, but I have never touched Bravely Default at all, honestly. So, I mean, I don't have that much of an opinion on Agnes, but I mean, Voyager's got a pretty good argument for her, so more power to him.
Thanks.
Yeah, I've actually never played the game, but I've seen some footage, so I do kind of have a half idea, but it's very. I know some of the characteristics of her major qualities, but that's it. That's all I know about. So I was kind of looking to make my opinion as it is, but I mean, again, I think she'd be an interesting addition to Smash. So my number 2, however, is Crash Bandicoot. He is an interesting third-party character because he hasn't really been relevant for the longest time, ever since what was the last Crash game? Mind Over Mutant, I think.
Yeah, Mind Over Mutant.
Yeah,
it was the
that
Activision
one.
published one.
Yep, and recently he's been revived in Skylanders, and he's getting a trilogy remake. The games from the original PlayStation are being remade from the ground up on PlayStation 4 and potentially other platforms. I mean, they're listing it as first on PS4, so we'll see what happens with that. Keeping my fingers crossed, but that kind of puts Crash back in the limelight because he has that characteristic that Sakurai looks for, and that's relevance. And Crash definitely has a unique take on the platforming genre, and he has a lot of moveset variations that could work itself well in Smash. I mean, you can easily say that one of his Smash attacks could be the tornado or something like that, or he could, forward jump, using basically he has a unique moveset. So he definitely has that in his arsenal. But Voyager, what do you think?
Yeah, Smash is the quintessential mascot fighter. So having the face of the early PlayStation era, fighting Mario, fighting Sonic, could be fantastic.
Dan?
Yeah, I think both of you bring up a very good case for Crash Bandicoot. I would like to lean into the point that the Smash Brothers series, it has Mario, it has Sonic in it, it has Mega Man. Those are 3 symbols of platforming icons. And if they add one from that era of video games, whether it be Banjo-Kazooie, like you said before, or whether it's Crash Bandicoot, I think it would be mind-blowing if Crash Bandicoot was added to the game. And at first I would have just said no, because I don't think it would have been possible, but just based off of the inclusion of Crash and Imaginators, and then of course the remasters coming down the line, which might be coming to other platformers, I think Activision would be stupid not to put Crash Bandicoot in the game if Nintendo came to them.
Liquid?
Well, I was more of a PlayStation kid as opposed to Nintendo, like I am these days, so of course I have a lot of affinity with Crash Bandicoot, so I would be completely fine with Crash getting in over pretty much almost any other third-party character. I mean, Crash has gotten so much love these days with the remaster. I mean, Smash would just be an unlikely but amazing cherry on top for me. So, I mean, I don't have a PS4 on top of that, so I can't even get to play it.
Yeah, Crash would definitely be. He would fit right at home in Smash Brothers. I mean, Smash has essentially turned into a mascot fighter. I mean, we have 5, maybe 6 of the most iconic characters in video game history. So, and not including all the wealth of other Nintendo characters. So, through and through, Smash has a lot of iconic IPs in it, and of course the little ones as well. But it definitely stands above the rest in terms of other fighters. You know, it has qualities unlike other genres, and it's definitely unique in that sense. And Crash being involved would, kind of being surprising, would feel more at home than usual. And I would say that it probably cancels any plans of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2. So, I mean, if you thought Cloud was enough, and if Crash was added too, I think that'd be the final, like...
Yeah, the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, pretty much. The lightning would hit the coffin, and the coffin would set on fire. In standard Undertaker fashion. Thank you, Taker. Anyways, Dan, what's your number one pick? This is the moment we've been waiting for.
Yeah, so number one out of the rest of the characters, I would want Skull Kid in Smash Brothers. Skull Kid from The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And I just think he's a very, very unique character. He resembles a period of Nintendo where things were a little bit more darker. He's one of the best characters, in my opinion, in the Zelda series, because he has a lot of layers that many of the characters have lacked. And I think there's a lot of interesting things they can do with the moveset and the animations, and it's just how well he would fit in, considering his like cosmic abilities in the Majora's Mask. I think he would be a very, very, very welcomed addition, considering how there hasn't been a new Zelda character in the Smash Brothers games since Brawl. It's either that or another variation of Link, so take your pick.
Liquid, what do you think?
Well, again, I'm not that much of a Zelda buff. I've only played Ocarina of Time and, well, now Breath of the Wild, but I have watched a lot of Majora's Mask, and I've seen a bit of the Skull Kid and Hyrule Warriors, so I could see where Dan's coming from on wanting the Skull Kid. Personally, I'd take any of the Zoras in Breath of the Wild first, but it's our opinions.
Voyager?
No, I really like Skull Kid. I mean, she's a tragic antagonist because Skull Kid is the vessel of the Majora's Mask itself. So it will be hard for me to punch and kick that poor kid, and because an evil mind is controlling him. But it would be great to use him. I mean, he could dance like one of the Majora's forms. He could charge like the bull form. I mean, he could use a lot of moves from the other forms of Majora to be a unique character.
Yeah, Skull Kid definitely has that moveset potential. I mean, considering he was in Hyrule Warriors and they made actual moveset for him, while I don't think they would derive it as much as people were saying, like Cloud would derive his moveset from Disney or Final Fantasy, it still could be used as a sort of template to maybe mold everything a little bit different. I mean, Sakurai is interesting because he can pretty much make movesets for a variety of characters. I mean, we've seen movesets for, of course, iconic characters like Mario, Luigi, Bowser, and the goddamn Duck Hunt dog. I mean, if you can do the gosh dang Duck Hunt dog, then I'm pretty sure he can do almost any character. Almost. Of course, there are a few exceptions, but I'm not going to go into that right now because I don't want a debate to happen. But I think Skull Kid would again, be one of those unique fighters that could stand amongst the rest. I'm beating a dead horse here, and I understand that. The horse is passing out on my lap right now, but honestly, he would lend itself well. Plus, we need another Zelda rep, honestly, because we've pretty much had the same 5 characters since Brawl, and while the item count and the stage count has been severely raised in terms of representation, one more character at least would be really nice, or at least somewhat of an alternate costume. You know, give a bone to Zelda fans in terms of character reps or, you know, alternate costumes in that regard. I mean, of course, we got the Mii Fighter costumes, but those are not really the same in a sense, I guess. I mean, it'd be cool to see like a Breath of the Wild skin for the next Smash Bros. Game for Link, or excuse me, Smash Bros. For port. And just be an interesting concept they could go for. But not going off topic. Skull Cave would be an interesting rep, and I think it would flesh out the Zelda roster quite a bit. He has that background, he has that fan base, and definitely it definitely is possible. Anyways, Liquid, what is your number 1 pick? And obviously this is going to be surprising, folks. We're in for a huge surprise, people. Obviously. So it's going to be the biggest surprise in Smash history. So go ahead, Liquid. Who is your number 1 pick? I'm sure we'll be blown away.
Oh, of course you will. My number 1 pick for the next Smash game is, of course, Silex from Metroid. What a shock.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
But anyway, this is a character who I have been a fan of consistently for over 10 years now. I still have my original card of Metroid Prime Hunters. I have watched as the character has slowly grown into relevance ever since the cameo at the end of Corruption, the comments from Kensuke Tanabe at E3 2015, the cameo at the end of Federation Force, and now I just want that 4th Prime game already, just to bring Silex back into relevancy. And as I've said over and over again, wherever you find me discussing this character, I've laid out some logical reasons why the character can get in, and of course I've addressed its counterpoints. But those are counterpoints that can be solved with time. I don't think it's likely right now. I'll keep saying that until it becomes more relevant, but this is a character I will continue to support for Smash for the foreseeable future.
Dan, what is your thoughts?
So personally, I think absolutely. It just goes into the one point I had about Ridley as well, that there should be more Metroid representation, and the character is very, very relevant with Metroid fans, especially for those of you who have played Metroid Prime, and here's crossing fingers for Metroid Prime 4. So yeah, I think it would be a worthy addition to the roster.
Voyager?
Yeah, I think he will be really cool and really. He has a unique moveset potential. He's a rival. I think that we need in Smash more. We have a lot of protagonists, but not that amount of enemies and rivals. And he will be, I mean, if he gets into Metroid Prime 4, he will be a really shoo-in for Smash.
Voyager, what is your number 1 pick?
Yeah, my last pick and my most wanted character is Bolt from Bubble Bobble, the game from the NES era. And I mean, I know he is a really unlikely character. His game has fallen to obscurity. He was owned by Taito broke, Square Enix brought them. Now the only thing they have is a mobile app game, but they were the face of the arcade game era. In a way that they had 2 arcade games that were really popular. I mean, Bubble Bobble as a 2-player game, and Puzzle Bobble, the game that everyone copied.
Yeah, I think Bubble Bobble would be a really good rep in Smash Bros. Taito has been really supportive of the Virtual Console as of late, and they supplied the game to the NES Classic Edition. So it is kind of peeking its head into relevance once again, just through the retro re-releases on the Virtual Console. And I think with its gameplay style, could be an interesting rep. I mean, I'd be worried about the overpowering use of the bubble, just like trapping people, and then they just go up and hit the blast zone. I mean, that'd be the bad worry. I'm pretty sure the team would do a pretty decent job in balancing him as a fighter. But that aspect would be interesting as a retro representative, and would be a cool third-party addition. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think fully that, I mean, Bubble Bobble is a very relevant game for Nintendo, especially for their NES library. As you said, it was on the NES Classic. I think it might have enough rooms for moves, but unfortunately, I think at the most, our biggest thing will be an assist trophy that comes for that.
Liquid?
Bubble Bobble seems honestly more like assist trophy material to me, but I'm not against the character. I mean, I have a few Bubble Bobble games myself, so I mean, it kind of be cute as a weird sort of character or something unorthodox. So might be fine with it.
Yeah, I think Bubble Bobble will lend itself well. That'd definitely be an interesting choice. So, anyways, for my number one pick, I would say Spyro the Dragon. This is more nostalgia based than anything else. So, I think he would be an interesting character because he was really one of the first open kind of 3D games, different from Super Mario 64 and Crash, that had like a variety of projectile attacks. You could power up certain things in the game, like you could get a better dragon breath, or there was just a variety of moveset potential in this character. And the fact that his success has been kind of propelled by Skylanders a little bit. A lot of kids would probably remember him as the mascot for the first game. Unfortunately, though, I kind of feel maybe Activision used him as the scapegoat in a sense. Like they used him to build up the series, and then he kind of fell into the Skylanders obscurity. But I still think a lot of kids would know who he is, and definitely Skylanders, while not at its highest point, is still relatively iconic. And while I think Sakurai would still want to go with the original representation of Spyro. So while it's a catch-22, because Skylanders is the one that propelled his success, and then of course his retro look would probably be the most nostalgic. So that it provides an interesting look. Dan, what do you think?
Oh man, another 32-bit mascot, just like Crash. I think it'd be interesting to have Spyro in it, but I don't know. I think it's the same thing with Crash, where those are going to be some of my last picks for a third-party character to be coming over to a Smash Brothers game. If anything, I actually would put more money on Crash than Spyro, considering how Activision is possibly sharing it with another individual.
Voyager?
I think I am agree with Dan. Crash has been on the light more now, but Spyro has a lot of charm too. I mean, he could be a really interesting character, and he has a distinct quality. I mean, he's quadrupedal, and he will be really different to the rest of the cast of the Smash Bros.
Liquid?
What are the odds that two people would pick two PlayStation icons in the same discussion? Honestly, so yeah. This again goes back to my point about being more of a PlayStation kid. So I welcome Spyro with open arms, even after the whole Skylanders stuff. I mean, it's still Spyro. I mean, Sakurai loves his original representation, so I have confidence that they'd go with the original Spyro. And hey, maybe you get a bit more Ridley jokes out of that.
Yeah, the other purple dragon.
I definitely think that Crash would probably be more likely than Spyro, given his more iconic status. But if Crash were to make it in, I think if they were considering another 32-bit era representative, I think Spyro will probably be the next on the table. So he, again, as I said, he'd probably lend himself well to Smash, and it would be an interesting concept nonetheless. And of course, that's my nostalgia speaking, so my opinion is highly biased in that case. But
yeah, so is mine.
No, I totally get that.
But any final thoughts, guys?
No, I think that's it. I think defining though, we're gonna get Crash before Spyro, in terms of any sort of 32-bit mascot from the PlayStation side coming over.
All right. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to follow us on our social media pages, including our Facebook and Twitter accounts. Be sure to also support us on Patreon if you want to receive exclusive perks. Everything will be linked in the description below, including our own social media pages and Dan's social media pages as well. We hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we will see you in the next one.